Okay, good evening. This is the East Lyme Board of Selectmen special meeting of January 13th, 2026. It's a hybrid meeting, and we're in the Town Hall upper meeting room, so it's both Zoom and in person. So if we could rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I can't hear.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Cindy. I can't hear you guys.
Okay, you need to say something else.
Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. This is Candace.
Okay.
Can Jason hear us?
Jason can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Cindy, can you hear us now?
No, it's still not that good.
Yeah. Turn up your own volume, maybe?
Yeah. Let me just switch to where I can just keep it up to my ear.
Okay.
Okay. So, are we okay to proceed, Cindy?
I don't know if she can hear.
Okay,
All right. Okay. Good.
much better. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we're here this evening. This is a special meeting, and we're here to discuss and possible action with respect to the Siting Council cell phone tower application for 306 Flanders Road. And what gave rise to this meeting was a letter that I received on Friday, January 9th, Friday morning, and I'll just read it into the record. This was from Ann Thurlow, as the Zoning Commission Chair, and it said at the January 8th, 2026 East Lyme Zoning Commission regular meeting, all board members strongly agreed that the 306 Flanders Road is not an appropriate site for a cell phone tower. The Commission found 600 that the first Selectmen do the following. As recommended by the Town Council, meet with Eversource to extend the lease on the current tower and ask the Board of Selectmen to reconsider hiring an intervener for the January 22nd deadline, consistent with past practices. The Commission will provide the first Selectman a copy of their findings, which will additionally be forwarded to the Connecticut Siting Council for inclusion in their public hearing, and it's signed respectfully, Ann Thurlow, Zoning Commission Chair. So that's where we are tonight. A bit of history. We did conduct a public hearing, and we did receive comment back in, let's see, was that November? To the date of that?
19th.
It was November 19th. And we had a presentation by the proponent, which was ARCS, let's get their correct name, ARCS Wireless Infrastructure LLC. And they did provide us with a report, which was available at the Selectman's office for review, and it also went to the the Zoning Board. And so we conducted our hearing. We had the public hearing, and then last week on the 8th, the Zoning Board also conducted a public hearing. So we do have counsel here, and we have Tracy Collins, and I would ask you if you could explain what being an intervener entails and what the probability of success and what things we ought to consider as a board when we're deciding whether or not to intervene and be in that status.
Certainly. My name is Tracy Collins. I'm the town attorney. Forgive me, but I'm going to be repeating a lot of what I said at the public hearing and during when you were making your decision on October 19th after the presentation by the applicant. But I think it would be beneficial for those who didn't get to hear that. I can tell you that I have been either worked in the town attorney's office or been the town attorney for the past 38 years. And the two applications for cell phone towers that the town became directly involved in or or chose to either intervene or get very involved in. The first one was in 2010, and that was on, and Paul Formica was the first selectman, and that was on Brainerd Road. And for those of you watching or listening, Brainerd Road is off of Fairview. It juts out into the marsh in the southern end of town, and it's a beautiful, pristine location right off of Old Black Point. And there was a lot of dissension about that application. And Mr. Formica at the time decided that with the rest of the Board of Selectmen, that he wanted to intervene in that case. And as I say, there was a groundswell of support. At the public hearing, this room was packed with people saying they do not want it. And Mr. Formica and I went up to the Siting Council. We were there for about 2 weeks. At one point, I asked to be excused until we could put on our case. It's like a trial. And the Siting Council is a team of people, just as you are up there, and the cell tower applicant is putting on the applications. There's cross-examination of witnesses. I know that Mr. Mulholland testified, and I'm sure he remembers that. And we lost that case. And it was heartbreaking for the town and for the Board of Selectmen. And what the Siting Council found was that there was a need for it, and that is one of the huge standards of meeting the requirement for building a cell tower, is there's a public need for it. And then again, in 2015, there was a tower up at the Orchards, which is on the Post Road, going towards Old Lyme from Flanders Four Corners on the right side, for those who aren't familiar with it. And the Orchards had a tower up there. It was off of, I think, the pool roof, if I'm remembering correctly. And then Mr. Drabick, I believe, owned property up on Ancient Highway. And he entered into a lease with a cell tower applicant. And at that time, Mr. Nickerson was the first selectman. And we had public hearings here, and it was same thing. A lot of people showed up for that, and there was a groundswell of opposition to it. And finally, what happened was the Mohegan Sun tribe was asked to go up to the parcel on Ancient Highway, and because they heard that there were funeral cairns or Indian cairns up there, which are, for those of you who don't know, big piles of intricately laid rocks. And because of those Indian cairns or burial grounds, the cell tower applicant withdrew the application, and the Orchards agreed to let the tower relocate there. Those are the only two that I know of that the town has become directly involved in opposition to. And so that's the history of cell towers opposition in East Lyme in the last 38 years.
So if I may ask you this, in both of those instances, Brainerd Road and then the tower that was at the Orchards ultimately, was it clear that the people that lived in town had one position or the other, they were either for it or against it? You said that you'd use the term groundswell. There was large opposition to
There
the
was.
project?
I can tell you, this room was packed. And my memory of Mr. Nickerson's is it was during the day. And even then it was packed.
Okay.
So that the Board of Selectmen had clear direction in both of those cases, I would say.
Appreciate that. So if the town did decide to intervene, do you have an estimate what it would cost to intervene these days? Rough, just order of magnitude?
Yeah, I would say, so we've already missed the planning conference, which technically I would have had to have been at, but it's not too late. We have until January 22nd.
Yeah.
To file either the municipal comments that the board has already voted on, or to move to intervene. But I would say it would be between $30,000 and $35,000.
And legal fees to
Yes.
pursue that, okay.
As I say, it's like a trial. It requires a lot
Yep.
of preparation and
Sure.
attendance.
And my understanding is that there is another intervener in this case right now?
There is Mr. Drabick, because Mr. Drabick, he wasn't able to have a cell tower be built up there, but he was able to build a radio tower. They're subject to different regulations. So it's my understanding, and I looked at his intervener application,
Yeah.
that he is filing as an intervener to ask that this tower be put at his property on Ancient Highway,
Okay.
on the existing tower.
So he's applying to the siting council and asking them to consider, look, there's already a tower in place, I have a tower, and it looks like there was a representation, am I correct, that he has the ability to increase the height of that tower?
Yes, that's what he said in his application. I have never spoken to him about it, but that is
Okay.
what's in his
That was in the
application.
application?
Yes.
All right.
And if anyone wants to look at his application, you can go on the Connecticut Siting Council website, and it's there. Yes.
So, you said the intervener was Mr. Drabick. The place that he's wants, I guess, is saying that they could put on his property. Is it the property that people were objecting to so many years ago?
It
On
is.
Ancient Highway? Is it the same property?
It is.
So,
I mean, I'm only smiling because,
okay,
Ironic.
okay, so then, I guess at that point, you said there was Indian or funeral cairns. So, are they still there? I mean, is there still that issue?
I know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know if the cairns are still there. We don't know if it would require a new application by Mr. Drabick to the siting or ARCS Communications. It would require ARCS Communications to then apply to locate it at the Ancient Highway site. And, you know, that was 10 years ago and times change. We don't know.
What happened? Okay. Yeah. And then the other question I had, you said originally there was one in 2010 when Paul Formica was counsel, and there was an intervention or intervener filed, and we lost the case. So is there a cell tower there at that location?
There is a cell tower at that location on Brainerd Road, which
Okay.
I'm sure is still breaking people's hearts.
Okay.
Unless you need cell phone service. It's like,
Yeah, understood. I was just trying to
Yes.
make sure
yeah, there is a
got that
tower
straight.
there.
Okay. And then-
These tower leases are usually 50 years.
Yeah. So the issue is whether to do the intervener or whether we can submit something in writing saying these are the issues that East Lyme has with this cell tower based upon the hearings and the deliberations of both the zoning board and the Board of Selectmen.
That's correct. So and I'll just go over it again for your benefit.
Okay.
The night at the meeting on October 19th, after the presentation, I told you and I prepared resolutions. You have choice A, do nothing, B, file municipal comments, and you can do that working together. The zoning commission can file their own municipal comments, but it would probably be better if you were going to continue down that path to do it together and work together and do one set of municipal comments, which we would prepare with, of course, with instructions from the first selectman. And And the third option was to file to intervene, to be an intervener. And the deadline is the 22nd to do either of the last two options.
So if we file the municipal comment, then the citing council would take those issues under advisement. They would review them.
Yes,
There just would not be, say, direct and cross-examination as it would
That's-
be in other trials.
that's correct.
Okay, just to make it clear.
So it avoids a trial setting, it avoids the expensive intervention, but it still places in front of the citing council the questions that we have and the concerns that we have as a municipality,
Yes,
and we get that opportunity.
yes. You can also ask for permission to speak on behalf of the municipality or delegate that responsibility to someone. It's up to the Board of Selectmen or the zoning commission.
But the step that we took at our meeting that we voted on was to provide written commentary. And we had, on our website, we did have a place for comments, is that correct, Sandy? Right after that meeting, we set up a portal for comments, so we will be reviewing those and incorporating them into the sum of our.
So after October, the October 19th meeting, people put their written comments
We
in?
had,
Did we get any?
No.
We didn't get any comments from
We got
anybody?
one just saying that it was very brief, I'll grab it, but it wasn't, I don't think it was against. It wasn't substantial.
Okay, I'd like to make a few comments, as zoning is my ex officio and has been for many years. So I have traveled this journey from the beginning. We had the state archaeologist come to look at the site, to give us information, provide us with information. Yes, there were Indian remnants and stones there. Mr. Mulholland has also been, our zoning officer has also been involved in this from the beginning. And the public hearings were very well attended. People are very passionate about this issue. The public hearings that the zoning commission has had, the room's been full. There are other alternatives that could be considered for other sites. This isn't the only site that would be potentially. So if we wanted to side with most of the members of the public who came to the public hearings, that this was not a desirable site for many reasons. And those are all in the record, which obviously could be submitted with the documentation. So it's unfortunate that it is so expensive to be an intervener. As a matter of fact, in a democracy, it's embarrassing. The amount of money that this would cost for us to represent our community in their views. But there were many alternative sites suggested and very clearly presented that there were environmental damages and environmental hazards to having that tower in that location. And I would like to ask if the board would give Mr. Mulholland permission to speak on this matter as well. He is here. He's been involved in this from the beginning, and he is our zoning official. So I would like to ask the board's permission to invite him to speak.
Can I just make a comment
Just-
first?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so when we were reviewing all the information, there was a notebook that I came in to review. When ARC presented to us, they did say that there was about, I think like 15 or 20, I think that's it,
This is
different sites that they had approached different property owners to use their site, and basically they were told, no, you know, we're not interested by the property owners. So this site that they ultimately landed on was one where the property owner basically said yes. And basically when we asked the question at the hearing about other sites, they said that they weren't adequate because they needed cell service, I guess, in that certain area. and the other sites were not adequate. And they gave a list of reasons for the different reasons why. I don't have it right in my fingertips, but that was my recollection of the hearing. So I just wanted to put that out there just so people can hear that. Also, at our Board of Selectmen meeting, I think there was about, I think I took notes, so I think there was like maybe 5 people who stood up at the hearing at that time, which really isn't that many. I don't know how many. I did review the zoning board meeting, and it looked like there was 5 or 6 people. So I don't feel like we're having that groundswell that Attorney Collins was speaking about as we had in the previous years in 2010 and 2015. So having said that, though, Mr. Mulholland, I'm happy to hear.
Actually, can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Oh, and me next, please.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I watched also the zoning meeting last night, and I felt like a lot of good points were brought up. I know that the fall space is not adequate for there. And I know that they also talked about it's wet, kind of very wet back there, and we don't know about how this is going to affect the aquifers. And I believe when I went back to the November 19th meeting and I watched that, I agree with the zoning commission. I felt that their presentation was very all over the place. I didn't find it to be really cohesive, and I really can't understand why they wouldn't have shown up in person for something like this. It's a big ask in town, and I'm just really surprised. And I also believe I'm under the impression after watching the meeting that they just didn't want to spend the extra money to check out other sites. That was the impression I got. Maybe I'm wrong, but that was kind of the impression I got. But I did feel that the meeting, the zoning meeting was really, really good, and they brought up a lot of very good points. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Cindy. Mr. Mulholland, did you want to, if you could address the board?
Actually, Dan, I think that I'd like to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Sorry, Mr.
No.
Mulholland. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yes, please.
I'm fully understanding of, the challenges here. So first, everybody can hear me, right? And I'm so
Yes.
thankful I'm not as raspy and harsh as I was the other night. That was brutal. Number one, the cell tower, which was not spoken of and really needs to be put in public document again, is that this application came into play back in June, and it was never addressed. And it's unacceptable that the application was received back then and it was mishandled. The mismanagement of that application has really brought us to what I view as us backed into a corner with very limited time and options. And truthfully, on my end, I don't love that. That's not great. We should have had the opportunity to have more Q&A, more discussion, more time with zoning to really kind of get into this, and also more opportunity for the community versus so quick. I would agree with Tracy in regard to the response. So although there have been a few, which is great, and all the comments that have been made have been, in my opinion, accurate, there hasn't been a huge swell as there has been in the past as a rally for a no. That doesn't mean that it should or should not go in. I will say and reiterate what I said the first time, that I do not think that this is an ideal location at all. Let me get to my notes. So in review of the zoning commission meeting the other night, it was interesting to listen to someone else's lawyer say that the application that was put in by these applicants was not done correctly. So I will look for clarification on that, because if it was not, that might be in our favor as far as a decline. I'm not too sure. If there are other viable options for the tower, that should be looked at before installing a new one, literally, right in the heart of the Flanders district. So I think that we're all familiar with the restaurant, the Smokey O'Grady's. I did take the opportunity to go in and drive in there in the parking lot, and I did think that it went back further. It does not. There isn't a whole lot of room, and the truth of the matter is it's really going to be literally on top of a cemetery, which I had brought up at the last meeting. There's a lot of different issues with it and challenges. We noted the aquifer. We noted what if something were to happen, radiation, so many other different things. But it didn't really seem as though there was enough time to really even address those issues, because TikTok, this was going to this council. And it didn't really appear that if we were to spend the money to put in an intervener, that we would even win, because at the end of the day, there is absolutely a need for the cell tower or service, rather, in that area of town. So there is a need. So the truth is, doing nothing really isn't an option for me. I don't believe that's an option. I don't think that that's going to be beneficial for the town. Listening to the zoning commission and all of the different comments, I think that they're in agreement as well that it's not the best spot, and why can't it be, one or two of the other options, and that could be looked at. But I'm also not interested in wasting taxpayer money, upwards of $30,000 to $35,000, or probably even more. Right? That's a huge concern.
Could be.
Right. I think that is all I have for now. But the question that I do have for Tracy is that accurate, right? So I learned that third party, right? And if I hadn't listened into the meeting, I wouldn't have the perspective that I do, because I would just be going on our last meeting, which was the 19th. But is that accurate, where the application is not sufficient?
Ms. Carlson, can you give me more background on that? Because I don't know, I wasn't at the zoning meeting, and
No worries.
so I don't really
I
know
wasn't.
who spoke and what they said.
I can go back. I wasn't either. I leaned in on the meeting minutes just to kind of get a calibrator here. And to my recollection and my understanding, and if I have it wrong, please, someone, say something. But to my understanding it was Mr. Drabeck's attorney, the one that is filing for an intervenance or whatever it's called there, sorry, that he noted that the application that had gone in wasn't sufficient, and that was surrounding the fact that they hadn't put on the application that they had assessed other viable options, one being apparently Mr. Drabeck's tower. Is that accurate?
I believe that was, from what
That was my understanding, yeah.
yeah, mine too.
What I can say, Ms. Carlson and Ms. Collins, I looked, Exhibit F to the application lists all the alternate sites that they pursued, and it's in the application, and why they were not viable. And it was either because they couldn't get the height they needed in that area, or mainly they couldn't get the homeowner or the property owner to agree to let them put the tower there. So that is my recollection. I have not heard this allegation, by Mr. Dravick or his attorney, but I can tell you that in Exhibit F, there were at least 10 other sites on there that they had looked at, and it was on the map, and if anyone has it, it's Exhibit F.
I
Thank
see.
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Tracy.
Oh, Candace, before, could I ask you, so bottom line, is your position that we should or should not intervene?
I'm on the fence, and I'm,
But we have to
wanting the
vote.
dialogue. Yeah, no, I know. I want the dialogue pretty much from everyone here because, again, I don't feel comfortable spending money on something that we're going to be forced to do. But I'm not in agreement of where it's going at all, nor was I in the beginning. But I feel like we're now been forced into this time crunch here of, I guess, either say no at a hefty price tag on the taxpayer's wallet or send comments. I'm not too sure. And I don't know how anybody else is feeling. I mean, I certainly don't want to see it there. I don't think that that is the right spot at all. I'm not too sure.
I agree with you, Candace, and I think that if we go ahead and do the comment thing first, will that buy us a little bit of time to maybe do more?
No. So we had a meeting, and at that meeting, we had three options. One was to do nothing. The other one was to provide comments to the siting council for them to consider. And the third option was to intervene. And at that time, at that meeting, the Board of Selectmen decided that the course of action should be to make comments and supply those comments to the siting council so they would have the benefit of people's feelings and the issues that they are concerned about. Right after that meeting, we set up a portal on the town website, and we had announced that, that was available for people to make comments that felt one way or the other. We just checked the website, and we did have one comment since that time, and the one comment was, I'll read it into the record. I don't see an issue with this now that you have allowed all this development. It's actually a very good spot for it, in my opinion, and this was by an Eric Moriarty. So we had that one comment that was in favor of it.
Now, what happens with that fall zone? Because I know they talked about that quite a bit at the zoning meeting, and Bill can probably answer more questions about that, but they talked about the fall zone in case that tower ever came down. What's in its path?
Well,
So I thought that was a kind of a real legitimate
Oh, it is.
question.
No, it is. I'm curious, and I'm so thankful that Mr. Mulholland just took a minute so that I could get some of the things that were on my mind out. I am very eager to hear what he has to say and his recommendations for sure. I'm also curious from Tracy, not now, but towards the end, whether or not, she thinks that this is something that we're going to win. From the sounds of it, I'm thinking that no, we're probably not going to win it, just simply because there's a strong need for it. But then again, I'm not too sure on the legal aspect of it, considering whether or not the application is sufficient and or it isn't. I can't imagine anyone, but since Mr. Dravick is the petitioner, so I'm going to say Mr. Dravick, I can't imagine him moving forward on the petition to stop it if they didn't think they were going to win. So, I will be quiet now and listen to Mr. Mulholland and some of the other conversation and go from there.
thank you, Candace. Mr. Mulholland, would you like to address the board and be available for questions by the members? Thank you.
Good evening. As you know, I've probably testified twice, once before the Board of Selectmen and before the Zoning Commission. My comments are more focused on the application as opposed to whether you should or should intervene or whether it costs or not costs. I'll stay out of that, stay in my lane. My My comments even at zoning were very similar to what the Board of Selectmen heard. There were numerous people, well, not numerous, but several people that appeared before the zoning board in opposition to the expansion of Mr. Drabick's application. It's my understanding, Tracy, and it may be incorrect, because I haven't seen the document, that there was a legal case at that time where Mr. Drabick's antenna tower was limited in size, and if he wanted to expand it, he may have to go back to court to address that issue. And again, I haven't done any research. I was told that, and I just pass it on. And then, of course, he'd probably have to go back to the siting council to expand it. Whether it's some of the folks in our meeting were adamantly opposed and spoke up, and they were some of the people who opposed the original application of Mr. Drabick's. And that neighborhood is particularly adamant. The board essentially asks very similar questions that the Board of Selectmen ask. I mean, when we look at the facts of the case, they pretty much speak to all of us. My interests are the fall zone. We had some maps we entered into the record, some drawings not prepared by an engineer, but it appeared that the fall zone would place that tower on the home cash center next door if it was to suddenly fracture. I don't think there's an adequate fall zone. I think that needs to be addressed. I think the siting council needs to look seriously at that. And regarding the other sites, when you read their application, in my opinion, they made some statements in their application. I thought the testimony lacked evidence to support their view that they made these initiatives. Perhaps they did, perhaps they didn't. I'm simply saying I didn't see enough documentation in my view to support that. In my opinion, there are other sites in that, I call it the valley. You have the ridgeline up where the apartments are behind Costco. You have up on by the hotels up off of the highway. There's some height up in that area. And of course, certainly I wasn't part of their exploration. I don't know what degree they went. They did not appear at the zoning commission. They sent us a letter saying they wouldn't appear at the zoning commission meeting because they felt that they had performed a presentation before the Board of Selectmen, which is up to them, their purview. The zoning board did review the Board of Selectmen meeting. We had asked each member to ensure that they had reviewed that so it was a basis for their discussion and decision making. And we had some excerpts out of the application. And they had somewhat of a lively conversation, similar to some of the things the Board of Selectmen looked at. But the testimony I had in both cases, I think, speaks for my position. I'm here to answer any general questions. In addition, I did have an opportunity to look at the parking on the northerly lot, which is apparently owned by the same person. They have developed a parking lot without any permits. I went back and reviewed, so that has to be looked at, so that parking is not legal. And in the application, they testified that they would have parking on an adjacent site. I'm assuming that's what they meant by that, but that parking is not legal to support the use of the restaurant. That has to be on the same parcel of land. It could be used, should they attempt to permit it and receive a permission, to support it in general and be excess overflow parking, but not to expand or to support the actual activity. So I don't really know what the parking counts are because I don't know how many they're going to eliminate. That didn't come up in the discussion, so that has yet to be vetted. So that would make it may make the building non-conforming and create other issues, but all still yet to be vetted. So in essence, not enough information. They did not visit with me as the land use zoning person, so I did not have any interaction firsthand. There were a couple of visits to the office in general, but no discussion with me personally. So that's really what I have to offer, unless there's some questions by anyone or someone.
Open it up to the board. Are there any questions for Mr. Mulholland? Candace, if you have some follow-up? Or Cindy?
I had a question.
Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Mulholland, for appearing today and your testimony. A couple questions as they pertain to zoning specifically. My understanding after watching the zoning meeting is that if a tower goes up there and it consumes parking real estate, that will automatically make the space of Smokey O'Grady's a non-conforming property. Is that correct?
The answer to that question is it may, because until I have the opportunity to vet the number of parking spaces, so I think many of us have visited the site, and you'll note that their parking stalls are not lined, the parking lot is not paved, so it's difficult to count the number of parking spaces that he has on site, so all that has to yet be vetted. However, if you're limiting parking, he has the interior space that we have certain rules that apply to, and he may be fine and he may remain conforming, and so therefore that might not be a problem, but it's something that I need to look at as part of our normal zoning review, also recognizing the jurisdiction of the siting council as well. I will point out that zoning regulations that we have a whole section on telecommunications, was written many years ago before the siting council took jurisdiction. Originally, zoning had jurisdiction over those towers, and eventually the siting council took control because it became too complicated with all these small towns having their own local jurisdictions. And of course, the towers are now treated as part of an infrastructure as a public utility, and that's why the siting council has jurisdiction. I think you had a second question?
My follow-up.
Yes.
Yes, my follow-up would be if the poll went up and Smokey O'Grady's became a non-conforming property, and at some point it was no longer Smokey O'Grady's, or they decided to expand or change their parking footprint, that could be rejected outright because of certain non-conforming aspects in front of zoning. Is that clear? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Depending on the use, because there's parking criteria is required for different types of uses and activities, and it changes with whatever we're proposing. If the restaurant was to expand, the parking's figured at one parking space for 50 square feet of public floor for a standard restaurant where you have waitress service. And if it's fast food, it's one parking space for 50 square feet of 25 square feet of public floor. So it can consume the parking very quickly. There are standards in the site plan regulations requiring certain size of parking stalls, backup areas, travel lanes, etc., and buffer zones. So if you had to apply the zoning regulations, it would very quickly eat up space. So in essence, just to finish up, in essence, the dimensional size of parcels of land essentially dictate what we can and can't do, because it's all driven by the site plan. And once you start engineering these things, you find often that the buildings end up smaller than what was hoped for.
Okay. My third question is, if the tower goes up and consumes the parking lot, and the building is found to be non-conforming going forward, and Smokey O'Grady's cannot expand because they were a non-conforming property, does that also mean that all future tenants or owners of that particular space could not do anything to change the structure because it would violate the non-conformance standards?
That would be true if they continue to operate as a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Retail, let's say, was converted to retail, that would require less parking, obviously yet to be determined by any future proposal. But continued use as a restaurant, that may be problematic because that eats up a lot of parking.
Okay. Thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I do, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mulholland. You're wonderful. And thank you, Lisa, for those questions. Those were great. So again, staying in lanes, right? So that kind of falls on the property owner, right? As far as, okay, I see your head nodding. So, because there's a whole lot here. And the night of October 19th, the owners of the property were present, and there was no comments made at that meeting. And I believe the person that runs Smokey O'Grady's as well was in the audience that night on the 19th, and there was no comments either. So I want to try to stay in my own lane of whether or not, because we are being asked, either we're sending commentary and or intervening at a cost which I know that you cannot help us with because you're in your own lane, which I value all of the input that you've just put because it's a tremendous challenge. So you've answered some of the questions, and now I think we just need to go back and forth on whether or not what we're actually going to do. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Before you leave, Bill,
Up.
there was discussion about the existing tower that's going to be decommissioned.
There was some discussion of it. I don't recall it all. The minutes aren't quite done from that meeting. They're due Thursday. The motions have been filed, but not the minutes. There was some discussion about that as to whether that was necessary or not. And of course, we didn't have the benefit of testimony from the applicant. There was some testimony at the Board of Selectmen meeting.
If I can expand,
Yeah.
if you would like. So, at the Board of Selectmen meeting, when ARCS made their presentation, one of the issues or concerns was that, so you have the transmission line towers. Those are the big towers that carry, when you go over the Baldwin Bridge and those big wires, well, that's where they end up. And they're on those towers that parallel I-95. Eversource apparently was renting out space at the top of those towers for cell phone carriers. And the issue and the problem is that if you're a cell phone carrier and you have a problem with an antenna array that's sitting on top of, I don't know, 400,000 or 500,000 volt lines, Eversource needs to power down those transmission lines to allow workers to get up and work on those cell phone arrays. And if you have a problem with an array, Eversource just doesn't shut the power off the day you ask for it. So they try to group it together. If there's several arrays that need to be repaired, they're going to wait till there's more than one, and then they can power down the line and let them get up there and do the work. So it became very disadvantageous for Eversource to continue in those leases. And I don't know anything about how much they charge, but from what I could understand about the technology, that it doesn't make good sense to keep the arrays on top of transmission line towers for that reason. So because that array, not that the tower is going to be decommissioned, but the array on top of that tower needs to move. And so they were searching for something in that proximate area, and apparently the potential tower behind O'Grady's was in an adequate position and at the right height to beam those cell phone signals to people on the highway and those dead spot areas that they're trying to cure. So if that helps or sheds any light on the discussion.
That's it.
You all set? Anyone else?
Nope. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you.
So I think, to frame up the issue, to cue it up here, we may or may not like having the tower there. There's various opinions, I think, on the board with respect to whether we think that's a good location or not. It seems that there wasn't the groundswell of opinion one way or the other. I don't know if it was evenly split or just slightly one way or the other, but it wasn't this overwhelming position that the people in town that had the ability to weigh in on it. Given the potential cost of being an intervener, my own feeling is that I don't think the town should invest that money where there isn't a clear mandate one way or other. I think that the term that Attorney Collins used was a groundswell of interest, and I don't think we saw, at least from my perspective, a groundswell one way or the other. So I would be remiss to commit town tax dollars to advocate for one direction or the other. The other issue is there is another tower that the Siting Commission may consider, but it's not our business to try to advocate for another entity that may or may not enjoy cell phone array put on their tower. I don't think that's our role. The other thing that was asked of me in this letter was that I I meet with Eversource and negotiate with them, and I'll ask Attorney Collins, do I have standing to do that or the authority to do that? I don't think I'm supposed to be engaging in negotiations on behalf of a cell phone carrier.
I would advise you that that is not your role.
That's what I thought. Thank you. So,
I would like to comment on that there was not a groundswell. There wasn't, in terms of the entire population, there wasn't, but over several meetings, zoning commission meetings, there were comments that were offered, and at one point there were people standing at the back of the room. So whether this was picked up by the camera and somebody thought there were only 5 or 6 people there, that's an incorrect impression. Those hearings were well attended. There was a lot of comment. Most of it was in opposition, and there are other potential sites that.
May I just ask a question, Roseanne?
Yes.
Of you, if you don't mind, because I wasn't in person at this very last zoning meeting. Are you referring to standing room only at this very last zoning meeting, or are you talking and referencing?
I was talking about over time, and yes,
Oh.
and at the last meeting, yes, there were quite a few people.
Okay.
And
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, I just wanted to take.
if we wanted to hear from a member of the zoning commission, we have somebody here this evening.
I think that's a great idea.
Be up to
Sure.
the board.
Yes, please.
Did you want to comment, or?
Oh. Talk about putting me on the spot. Yeah, go ahead. I have many comments, and I will be real brief. Nancy Kalal, 80 Grassy Hill.
Thank you, Nancy.
First of all, let's talk about this groundswell. You know, the day paper has gotten really thin. Nobody reads the paper. So if you put the ads for the hearings in the paper, you're not getting anybody, unless it's word of mouth. The problem is reaching the population and the way we get news and report news. Even kids in school, everything is different than what we're used to. And back 10, 15 years ago, everybody read the day paper. But most people get the current now because the day is just local news. So nobody is seeing these ads that we spend big bucks on.
That's right.
So there's got to be a better way. Is it Facebook? I'm old. I don't do Facebook. But my grandson does, and believe me, he'd be the first one to tell me if something was happening. And I have looked at this application a lot, and in my humble opinion, the north end of town is sadly still without service. Even with this new cell phone tower, service does not essentially change. So it's pointless to put up a tower that's not going to change service, because nobody at the town north end gets service. And it has occurred to me there is a viable site right next to Mr. Drabick's site, and the town has landlocked land, 26 acres, right next to Mr. Drabick's land. And I'm sure that, the town could use the money. So perhaps if they looked at an easement with the neighbor to get the cell phone people in and out, I'm sure the cell phone people, the elevation is approximately the same. And Mr. Drabick has 60 to 80 acres. I'm sure somewhere there has to be room for a cell phone tower that's 13 and a half stories high. So I don't think that the applicant did their justice, did their due diligence, and I don't think it's to the town's advantage. Granted, you never know what you're going to get, but if it was my money, I'd spend the money to try to keep that cell phone tower someplace else. There's lots of land on the north end of town. People would be thrilled to give up land for a cell phone tower. And nobody's asked them, and there is no service up there. And I did listen to the applicant talk about how there's room on the tower for the town. Well, let's talk about this room on the tower for the town. How many millions have we spent to improve coverage for emergency vehicles? It still takes them a half hour to get to the north end of town, and there's no cell service.
actually, there's very little TV service unless you got cable. So if the town thinks that they're going to put get increased service at whatever cost you pay for on a tower, I think it's nuts, quite honestly.
Okay.
So I would vote to spend the money. It's a crapshoot, of course, but to put this tower where everybody on earth comes into town at the 74, 75 interchange with major highway, I mean, let's look at it, it's like 6 lanes in some places. This becomes a health and safety issue if this tower falls down. And these people have not done the geologics yet. This sits on the edge of the aquifer protection area, which means who knows, it's a shallow aquifer, it's only 6 to 8 feet down. Who knows what kind of soil can support a pad that holds up a monopole 130 plus feet high. They haven't done their due diligence, in my humble opinion. So I would spend the money, and it may be that we lose the money, but on the other hand, it may be that we gain a whole lot, which is a better looking town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Are there any more comments this evening or questions? So I think it's time for us to discuss whether or not we want to authorize me to engage counsel to intervene in this matter. I'll poll the board, and then we can see if there's a necessity for a motion one way or the other. Roseanne, do you think we should intervene?
Well, we're under a time crunch here. Intervening costs a lot of money, and we don't have much time to negotiate, but unfortunately, we didn't require the applicants to give us other potential sites. And there are other potential sites in town. And personally, I do not think that, with all things considered, the aquifer protection, the invasion into current successful property owners, property and business, other things, the visibility of this, I mean, it's gigantic. And this, in my opinion, is not the appropriate location. And I think that the only way that we can stop this is to be an intervener. Is that correct?
So we could intervene, and the council indicated that there was a slim likelihood that we would prevail given our experience in the past. But that doesn't mean that we can't do it. But it is a significant investment. And it appears that, citing counsel is usually, I don't know, I'm not, all I can say is from the experience that was explained to us that it's unlikely that we would prevail.
So if we went with the intervener possibility, which seems to be the only way, you can't just vote against it, this could drag out for a period of time?
It's like a trial.
So
But
the cost would depend on how long it took to reach a settlement.
a finding by
Yes.
the citing council.
Okay.
The other aspect of it is, are we advocating for it or against it? I mean, there was varying comment. I mean, the one comment that I have is for it. And are we going to intervene to advocate for the placement of the tower, or are we going to intervene to advocate against it?
Well, I've heard.
Can you advocate for a relocation of it?
It would either be approval or not. I think it's a binary decision.
Okay.
So, can I just ask a question? You said that there was municipal comments, and then there was also, you could ask permission to speak. Could you address that, please?
Yes,
Attorney
so
Collins?
So your municipal comments would be in writing, but certainly they would allow probably one of the select people, but probably the first select person to speak at this, before the siting council as part of the municipal comment.
Okay. And is that something then you would have to ask, like request special permission to speak at it?
Yes, and I would, just as a courtesy to the siting council, and for Mr. Cunningham's time, ask that it be a scheduled date and time so we don't have to wait. But the way it works is the siting council first opens with the applicant, and they put on all of their witnesses, and they have all of their engineers and their safety people, and then it would be, we'd have an opportunity to, if we intervene, to cross-examine all of those people and to put on our own witnesses. It would be too late to hire experts of our own now.
Yeah.
But so it's much like a trial, that they put on their case, then we would have an opportunity to cross-examine their witnesses, and then we would put on our own case. And this would be, I would ask that as part of the municipal comment period, that Mr. Cunningham would be allowed to speak orally to the siting council.
And would that be like during the trial, before the trial? Like how does the municipal comment work if he was to speak?
It would happen after the cell tower puts on its application. I didn't go to the hearing conference because that was earlier in the week.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, so I don't know what the agenda is yet.
So basically, they would put on their case, and then in addition to doing municipal writing it in comments, we could get permission to speak and actually express our opinion there.
It would be one person designated by,
exactly.
that wouldn't be like a public hearing where people can get up and speak.
Yeah,
yes.
But it would be at least then somebody would get up and speak, and they would then take that under advisement, and that would be under consideration when they make their decision.
Yes.
What the opinion of East Lyme is through the first selectman or whomever it is that would speak.
And one thing we could ask is that we prepare written comments, which are due on the 22nd, and that Mr. Cunningham be allowed to speak those orally to the siting council.
And I do think, if a person, when you're reading something, it doesn't have the same impact as when you're speaking it orally. So my vote would be to do the municipal comments and then have the first selectman go up and speak and present our case to the siting council. And that way then it will be in front of the siting council and they can take it under advisement. And I think that would have a much greater impact. I think the intervener, I don't think that if it's not going to be a home run, I don't see, if we really don't feel like it's going to do anything, I don't see that we should spend the money. Not that I'm adverse to spending money, but you want to have some results. And if the siting council bases it upon need and they're going to put on, the ARC will put on their show, I think that if we present municipal comment and have Mr. Cunningham go up and speak, I think that would be adequate.
But I should tell you that I can't promise you that they would allow that since the schedule has already been set. They've had the pre-hearing conference, but certainly we could try.
Okay, great.
Could Mr. Mulholland speak as well, or just Dan?
I don't know the answer to that.
What?
Okay.
What was the
I thought
question?
that Tracy said that there was only one person to speak.
The question was, can Mr. Mulholland speak in addition to you?
Like an expert?
No, see, we couldn't, you only have the opportunity to put on an expert, like we did in the Brainerd Road case, if you intervene.
Yeah.
This is strictly public comment.
Okay.
Not, this is my, experts testify as to opinions. They're not going to allow any opinion testimony from whether it's Mr. Mulholland, an engineer, a safety expert, or anything.
So
So he can't even give written? He can't even put anything written in and Dan relay?
What I would suggest, and when I met with the first selectman today, because we were in the process of preparing our written comments, was that Mr. Mulholland gather all of these comments. I'm taking notes tonight, very good opposition comments that people have made, and that would be presented in the written portion. So that would include anything that Mr. Mulholland may have said tonight. The commission, the Siting Council doesn't really care about zoning. They've made that crystal clear. And that is the law in the state of Connecticut. The zoning regulations do not apply when it comes to cell towers. Certainly, we would put it in there, and this idea that the parking, they say they own it, but it's a non-conforming use and everything. I mean, as I see it, we should put in everything that I think helps whatever the position of the selectmen and the zoning commission is.
So for clarification, we can submit comments to the Siting Council without being an intervener.
Correct. That's what you voted on when you met on November 19th.
That's what we decided.
Right, but
Yes.
I just want it clear for the record so
Yes.
that people are listening.
Yes, so for the people that are listening, there is something called municipal comment. And that can be done, well, we are preparing something written to do a municipal comment, and we're asking them to locate it somewhere else. We're saying all the reasons why it's inappropriate, and that we can say whatever we like in the municipal comment section.
Thank you.
People brought up that there's a child care center there, right across the street. You cannot put a cell tower within 250 feet of a child care center or a school, but it is established that they're outside that 250 feet.
Outside that perimeter.
Yeah.
Can you send, Tracy, can you send pictures? Because I will tell you that when I went on site to that parking area in back of Smoky O'Grady's, it gives you a real better perspective of how little room there really is there, and then trying to think of what this large structure is going to look like, how it's actually going to fit in the proximity of the cemetery, and just the location itself. So can pictures go additionally to support?
Yes, Ms. Carlson, but I should tell you that if you look at the application, every picture that we could ever want to put into the record is there. There's the balloon flying pictures, there's aerial views. I mean, I have it right here.
No, I remember seeing all the pictures. I just think that when you go back there, it's there's just very little space for such a large structure, and on top of the cemetery almost.
I understand, and certainly municipal comment can say that, and should say that, and can say their exhibit G shows exactly how little space there is back there.
Understood. Now I just have one last question. So, considering that there is another intervener going in, just I guess in a different way, would that help support, or would it not even be impactful along with our commentary, or would it not even matter, you think?
You mean Mr. Dravik's intervention, will that help us or hurt us?
Yes.
In terms of not locating it where the proposed site is at Rosie O'Grady's?
Correct.
I would say it wouldn't really matter for our position.
Okay. All right.
I have one quick question. Do you think it being it doesn't look like there's an appropriate fall zone? Do you think that's a strong enough? I mean, because I know I'm concerned just in case something ever happened and that thing went down. I mean, there's so much right around there that could be impacted by that.
I certainly think it's very important that the public, the municipal comment section include that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a big concern I have, as well as some of the others that everybody else has talked about.
So I think an approach we could take that would be consistent with what we had already decided. I mean, we'd already decided not to intervene at our last meeting, and the reason we're here tonight is because we were asked to consider it by the zoning board on the 8th. My own feeling is an appropriate pathway would be, first of all, to understand, are we in favor of it or against it? And I'm sensing that most of the board members are opposed to it. And I guess we'd have to go around and poll everybody. Are you in favor or opposed to the tower being positioned there? And if the consensus is that we're opposed to it, then do we invest in intervening and understanding there is another intervener that is opposing that tower being positioned there? Or do we continue down the path that we had already decided, that would be to put together the comments as we have received them at the public hearings, and we have this one comment that was on our portal, and put those together and then present them to the siding council, and I'm certainly willing to go up and recite them and testify in front of them to recite the comments as we finally put them together.
Dan, I'd like to speak if I could.
Yeah.
So I think framing the discussion in whether or not we're opposed to it is kind of the wrong way to go about this. I think any municipal leader would say we don't particularly love these things because they're not attractive. There are a host of issues that come with them. There are some, marked benefits. So saying whether we're opposed to it or not, I think is the wrong way to put this. My understanding is that our decision was made. Zoning took it upon themselves to kind of ask us to reconsider.
Right.
So I don't think the matter is whether we're opposed to it or not. I think the matter is, do we want to reconsider the current? Is that it? Or are we kind of just going about this a totally different direction?
Well, no. So the question tonight is, do we continue with providing comments to the siding council, or do we make the decision to actually intervene in that case? But when you intervene, you're usually intervening because you're in support of it or you're opposed to it. Am I correct on that, Tracy, or is there a middle?
Well, I would say if you were in support of it, you wouldn't bother intervening because
Or we wouldn't even
the applicant
move
is
forward with
advocating on
comments.
that
Right.
position. There would be no need for it.
So intervening then is really assuming that you're opposed to it
By a municipality,
by
yes.
municipality. Okay.
Yes.
Does that help, Jason?
Yeah.
Explain? Okay.
Yes. So after hearing all this, kind of we're not experts in this. We're not engineers. We're kind of the eyes, ears, and conscience of the community and deciders. And we have to rely on expert testimony. And thankfully, we have experts like Mr. Mulholland and Attorney Collins to kind of give us their take on it. But we have to make the decision. But I mean, my intuition lines up with kind of what Ann was saying and what the others have said. This does not sound like a slam dunk or a home run. And if we are going to take this fight to the siting council, we need to have, really solid expert testimony, which we just do not have. We don't have time to manufacture, and we need that kind of groundswell that we keep talking about. And I believe Ms. Kalal is correct when she says that people don't turn out like they used to. So this may be a new political reality we're dealing with. However, I would say that in our last public hearing about the automatic speed cameras, to retread something we already had 2 public hearings on, but I did have a number of people who reached out to me, text, email, private conversations, and I encouraged them to speak up at public comment. And they failed to do so, and their positions did not win the day. So I think, yes, this is a new political reality we're dealing with, but if we don't have that groundswell, it's very hard for us as town leaders to say, this is the fight we're going to have. And in this case, I don't think we have expert testimony that has a compelling case. I believe Mr. Mulholland is correct. There are inconsistencies in those applications, for sure, but I don't think it's compelling enough that they would, citing council would trash this. And I don't feel like we have the fire of the community behind us. So my position is that we do not reconsider our previous vote. And those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. I think you've articulated our decision tonight very well. Thank you for that. So, moving forward, I guess, I know, Jason, I know your position. Cindy,
I agree with Jason. I think, unfortunately, we're under the gun. There aren't a lot of options technically in front of us if we were to try to fight, and I don't want to spend the money either. If there's a chance, and it might be a big chance we don't win, maybe we could put forth the best we can with the siting committee there and see what we can do as far as that goes. But I agree with Jason. I suppose we're just going to keep moving forward the way we are.
thank you, Cindy. Candace, what is your feeling?
Yes, all of this with the additional that you'll be going to articulate, correct? Just for clarification? Or
Yes,
no?
yes,
Okay.
I will be pleased to represent the town there in my capacity as first selectman and to recite what the total is, what we come up with as far as the comments that we send to them.
Okay. Well, I really agree with, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to tell all of you that I did call Mr. Mulholland yesterday. I didn't know how this was going to go, but I said if it's comment, municipal comment, and I think, I'm hoping the people who are on the zoning commission hear this, that if they could get you, me, Mr. Mulholland, the comments that the zoning commission wants us to include in the municipal comment, depending on how your vote goes, of course, that happen as soon as possible. And I have been taking notes tonight, but it would be helpful to get it all in one place.
I think the zoning commission actually submitted, did they submit comments, Stan? Because I know when I watched it, they were submitting comments.
Didn't they? They submitted a letter of request to the first selectman and what they were looking for. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's the letter that I read into the record
All
earlier.
right, I'm in agreement with Tracy, and I would love to see more, like a collective, maybe from comments from zoning, specific to the members and or collectively through the chair to add in, because I'm getting the same theme pretty much from all, at least that's my understanding from elected officials, that this is really not the best spot and are really not in favor of it. But speaking to being kind of under the gun and the way that I had said we're backed into a corner, I just want to be very clear and on the record that I find it unacceptable. I feel like I want more and better for East Lyme, and I never want to see us in this position again, ever. I'm not pointing fingers, but I am going to say when an application comes in, it needs to be effectively and efficiently handled so that we have adequate time, because I really don't like being forced into something, and I feel like I have very limited options. And, I know for myself, I really try to do the very best for our town and make really good, educated decisions. And the way that this kind of unraveled wasn't fair and was not good. And now we're in a position where we're backed into a corner, and it's just not a good look. So I never want to see that again. Just to be clear, it's unacceptable. I expect more, and I want to see better. And that's all.
Okay, thank you, Candace. So your position is we submit comments and I go up there and recite those comments to the panel?
Yes, and then additionally, I'd like to gather more information and more comments from the zoning board and committee. Right, I just wanted to be clear on that.
Try
And
to
yes.
put it together as best we can from the various
Yes, and make
comments.
our case, yes.
Yep,
And I should say, it doesn't need to be anything fancy. Bullets are fine. You
Yeah.
know, I can run with it. I've certainly been heard a lot.
Yeah, that would be fine. Roseanne?
I think, unfortunately, I think we cannot go with the intervener, which does, of course, carry more weight. So I think the best thing is we can put together a little subcommittee, primarily of zoning commission members, and come up with bullet points, very clear, very concise, representing heard public opinion, as well as comments from Mr. Mulholland and commission members. I'm sure that the chair of zoning can put together a little committee to work on those and to condense some of the remarks and help us prepare a statement.
And when would we want that from them, Tracy, so we can work on ours? We have,
So the final has to be submitted by next Thursday, the 22nd.
so I would hope,
So a week from tomorrow.
yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, so
Well, no, I would hope if zoning has
that's why I
comments,
say
they
it
could
doesn't
submit
need
it
to be
us.
fancy.
Yeah.
It can be just what people remember,
Right.
bullets, an email with, please say this, this, and this, and I can clean it up.
the meeting again and
Yes,
take notes.
Yeah.
yeah, that would be great. Certainly, I
So if
know
they
what
could
to
have
do
it
from
to
there.
me by Monday, would that be, and then we can incorporate it? Is that, or Friday? Do you think Friday?
By Friday would be great, Monday at the latest,
Yeah.
how's that?
So if the zoning commission can assemble the comments and submit it to myself or Tracy Collins, or attorney, by Friday, and at the latest Monday, then we will incorporate that into our comments that we're working on.
Sure, and Tim Bleasdale is the zoning commission members are certainly familiar with Tim. He does all of your work, so you can submit it to either of us or to Mr. Mulholland and ask that he get it to us, or your staff person.
So to continue my polling of the board, what is your feeling?
So,
Yeah.
I guess as I stated previously, I would be in favor of, at this point, of doing the municipal comment, and I would request Attorney Collins to see if the citing council will grant permission to have the first selectman speak in person, because I feel very strongly that having somebody speak in person is much more impactful than something written. So that would be my request. And also, as I said before, I think the intervener status, I don't think this is, I don't think it's worth our while to do that at this stage. So I'm in favor of the municipal comments.
And Roseanne, I didn't know if you had finally, did you, you join that? And I agree. So I will endeavor to, along with council, to collect the various comments as they're submitted to us and distill them down into a presentation that I will deliver to the citing council. So.
And since there is no formal change in the direction of the Board of Selectmen, you don't need a motion or anything to conclude this, right?
No.
I don't think so, no. I just, I wanted to get a consensus of the board. I didn't want to make this, even though this letter was directed towards me, it is really something that should come from the board, and I wanted to see what the consensus was, and we have that now, so unless there's any further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for everybody. I know it was midweek, and so thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you.